So I was in like a rough place mentally. Nobody would know this, but I'll touch on this later. But Shane like enters in and he starts to just kind of mentor me. And what he did is he said, I felt like led to kind of help you out. And whatever that looks like, I don't know. I said, well, I have time for you only in the morning, 5 a.m. And we could talk at 5 a.m. because I'm a morning guy. And if that works, great. Otherwise, I don't know what to kind of tell you. So he says, I'm in. And he wakes up 5 a.m. every morning and talks to me for about an hour. And what he's done is really helped me with relationships and being a better husband, father. And he's always doing that. He said, remember to thank your wife. So at this time, I should thank my wife for just supporting me in everything that I'm doing. And I love you. She has been my support from day one since I met her, and she has done so much for me and my family and so many other people. And she's very modest and humble about it, but she's very giving and generous. And you wouldn't know because she's so quiet about it. She doesn't like it she probably doesn't like that I'm even speaking right now about this, but she deserves to be acknowledged. So thank you, babe. I love you.
Amen. It's the truth. We can't do anything without our significant others, and I would say the same with my wife, for Corey, too. And
I had that on my list of things to say, but I forgot, got all excited.
Good. Well, I just want to acknowledge Corey. Corey's brought so much already to what we're doing here, and I talked to Tyler. I was just like, man, thank God. We were just praying for what God was going to do in these meetings, and Corey comes along, and just such a breath of fresh air, and he's like, man, you need to come out the gate and give God acknowledgement. And I was like, all right, brother, let's do that. Yeah, and I wanted to say also his action statements, man. I mean, Corey, there's so many people in this room I know right now that are humble people that, again, we wouldn't know of their success because they're not going to talk about it. But I encourage all of you, take your time today, get to meet as many people as possible. There's a lot of very strong, very powerful people here, men and women. That's our hope, is that through these meetings that you're going to be encouraged in every area of your life, and then, of course, business. So, all right, so we're going to talk with Tyler. I'm going to pick on him a little bit, and then Corey's going to pick on him a little bit. You guys are welcome to pick on him a little bit. It's fun to do this. If you got a question, just raise your hand in the middle of all this stuff, and we'll put him on a hot seat and have some fun with him today. So when I met Tyler, like he said, he was struggling in some area of his life, but other areas really, really doing well. And I was inspired to talk with him and meet with him. It was not hard at all, really, to get up and spend time with him because he's such a generous person, a giving person. You'll see that anytime you need anything. Same for all of us. Feel free to reach out to us anyway. We're here to help. We're here to help you in any area that we can, especially business as well. So what I like to do when I'm interviewing folks is I like to start off at the present. What are they doing right now? Then go back to the past, talk about a little bit where they came from, and then talk about what the future looks like. So we'll start off with, what do you got going on right now that we don't know about?
Yeah. Well, to start, I would say the one thing, my number one priority has become my faith. And so I lead with that. And that's like, first and foremost, and that relationship that I have with God has just transformed my life. And so to not speak about that as a thing that I'm doing right now, it would be a mistake. And for me, that's first and foremost what I'm working on, and just growing closer to God through Jesus. And so that's first and foremost. In business, actually, let me go back from that. In family, because it kind of see things in this order. My relationship, this vertical relationship, going the right way, and then my family. I'm really working to just be the best husband that I can be, and what that looks like is like serving my wife as much as I can, and like that is my mission. I'm not trying to get anybody like thinking or like anything other than, because it wasn't always that way, and she can tell you, like no. I want to serve her and love her unconditionally, and that's my Second thing, I get relationship with God, my wife. Don't get mad about that. We have to have these things in order. And then my sons. And I spend time with my sons, whether it's helping them in sports and encourage them, whatever they're doing in life, driving me crazy. That's a priority. So that's the other thing that I'm doing. A lot of baseball. We train every day, pretty much in some way, shape, or form in that. And that brings me tons of joy. And we got my baseball table over here. Thank you for coming, guys. And then in business, I am working on flips. You know, I'm buying properties, fixing them up. I got to give a shout out to Aaron Alberti. He does an amazing job. I talk to him almost every day. Spend a lot of time. He's in the sphere. We're constantly doing advertisement to try to generate more leads. They're coming in, and then on the commercial side, so I have the flips that's a residential play where I'm buying them, fixing them up, and selling them, or sometimes just cleaning them out and auctioning them off.
How many flips are you doing right now?
Right now, you know, it's tough because I get asked that question. I'm not a analytics guy. I'm not good at keeping track. I just keep buying, and then I'm selling. There's always a flow. I always have a flow of like 3 or 4 a month, that I'm buying and selling, and so it probably works out to be anywhere between 30 and 50 homes a year that I'm doing. So right now, you could say then they're in transition, different stages, maybe like 10 is what I would say.
So in the past, we know that you had a big team of people. You had your own crews, I think. You might have had you were subbing out some of the architecture, but now you're subbing out most of that work? Yeah,
so my ego was really big, and going back to the past, we're going to get there. So you know what, I'll just stay in the future, or present. Future, I'm always a little thinking ahead. Yeah, so I had crews, but now I don't have any employees except Beth. Thank goodness for her. Where's Beth Pardo? She does a great job, and she helps put this all together for me and does a lot of the things that I'm terrible at or just don't like doing. So I thank her so much. And then my wife is an employee of the company, and we've had our disagreements, in that. But she does a good job at. She answers the phones a lot of times, and that's so important. The first time somebody calls in, Adam, my guy, he gets the phones ringing. He creates the commercials for me and makes me look good at these takes that I do when we do these commercials. When I first started, he was like, "Try not to look like you're gonna kill somebody." And now it's come a long way. And if you've seen our commercials, they're not great. My acting is not great. His work is great. So it makes me look a lot better than what I do. And then people actually call and they want to sell us their house. And my wife takes those calls and I get complimented. And Shane, who runs out a lot of the appointments, and his team, they get compliments about how nice she is. And it starts out there. So it helps us out. So no employees other than Beth and Candace. And then I subcontract all the other work out.
Yeah, mostly with Aaron?
Yeah, it's with Aaron, and when I do stuff with John Lowry, my buddy over there, he manages the work. He does a great job, and he's good at the things I'm not good at, which is management and construction. You wouldn't think that, but I can't. I could actually not build anything. I can't. It's terrible.
So I also know that you recently sold one of your apartment buildings. You bought another one. What are you doing in that multi-space right now?
Yeah, so I love the commercial multi-family warehouse space, and yeah, we did just sell. It was quite some time, and that story of how we acquired that property, that was Providence, and like the way that thing worked out. We were not meant to get that until the very last second when I believe God provided it for John and I, and we bought that and we fixed it up. It was 30 units just down the street. We fixed it up. John did an amazing job, and we increased all the rents and managed to keep most of the people in there, which was a good thing. We had good tenants, and then we just recently sold that and acquired the building next to it, which was like 22 units. So we're in the process of stabilizing that. John's doing a fabulous job doing that right now, and so that's one of them, and then a couple other bigger industrial properties.
Yeah, so talk just briefly about the industrial stuff. I was telling someone here today that is an area that you really focus on as well. Not a lot of people know how to handle that. You know, I've seen you from the sidelines operating in that space.
Yeah, one thing that I think that my past has helped me with is I've been able to adapt to different scenarios in whatever the market's giving you, and I've tended to go where other people maybe were not. Now everybody's into the industrial storage, outside storage, that IOS or whatever it is. Everybody's into that now, but when it wasn't, when they weren't, I was trying to go into that. And so I learned how to buy like warehouses that are dingy and ugly and nobody else really wanted them. And I would just clean them up, put the same thing we do with the house. We put paint, light it up, and then somehow it's like I've been uncomfortable because you don't know where your tenant's coming from, and you have to fix this stuff up. And you're like, when are they coming? I hope they're coming. And they always come. And like, it's just always worked out. So that's one space I really, really like, is the industrial. And it's what I really like about it is the people that you're dealing with in that are guys and women that have, they just are kind of gritty. They've worked and they have their own business that they owned and operated. And when you talk to them, they're like, you just got to listen to their story about their business that they run and their life and everything like that. So you get to know them, and they're good. Usually I've found that they're good people, and you can talk rationally to them and negotiate a deal that makes sense for both parties. So
in the essence of time, just to stop on the present a little bit, if you can talk just briefly about how you work the money, because you know, I know your story a little bit, and basically you were not a house flipper. You started off, I think, doing the brick facades, and maybe even something before that. We talked about cars. A lot of people who have flipped cars understand flipping. But I think really one of the cooler things when I talk to you is you have a really good sense and mind for how to build and develop that financial side. So you'll be working in and out with banks. You'll do private lending. You'll kind of like maneuver in all those positions, which always impresses me. If you want to just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I first started, I didn't know anything like most people when they start something. I didn't know anything. I jumped in full force and did my absolute best that I could with what I had, which was very little. And so I was able to kind of manage a lot with very little. And that was a lot of scraping, a lot of like stress, and figuring out how to get leverage everywhere I could. Credit cards, borrowing money from people and lenders, banks, and just leveraging everything. It was a risk that I took, and I definitely felt a lot of pain early when the market shifted. And so when I first jumped in, I would say that I did my first flip was an absolute failure, and it ended up getting foreclosed on. Nobody really knows that. And so, but what happened for me was it like sparked a passion in me, and like God's put a sense of like determination and perseverance in me, and even when I wasn't living for Him, and I've been able to fight back and stay resilient and persevere through some of the worst circumstances. And so that's taught me how to just manage and just utilize and then watching people. When I was doing the brick business, that was the best education I could get. And Aaron Alberti speaks to this a lot. He had the front seat watching all the investors, which ones do good and why they do good, and the ones that do bad. So he sat there, he did the contracting work. People might have been thinking, oh, he's just a contractor, but he's learning and getting this education. So for me, when I started the brick business, the brick restoration business, I picked up a bunch of little wins after coming off a big, huge loss where I lost everything. And then I started getting these little wins, doing these tearing off formstone from fronts, and I would climb up on that scaffolding, and I would be scared to death. I do not like getting up there, but I would get up there and attempt to do it, and I would recognize I'm not coming up here, guys. But I learned how to sell that business and how to get it, and then we could transform a facade in like 24 hours. So you come in the morning, we set up, and then when you come back home, you see a whole new looking front. And so that was real easy to sell. And then we just started taking over, and we became like one of the largest brick restoration companies. And what I did was I followed and watched what everybody that was buying and that I was working for, I would ask them a million questions. Why are you buying this? How are you buying this? How are you where are you getting the money from? And I would just keep peppering until they gave me the answers. And if they didn't give me the answer, I'll just back off and and go to the next guy. But I learned a lot in that time. So it was probably a good 2 to 3 years of learning how to juggle and how to manage finance. And then watch a couple of developers that I thought did well, and it turned out that they really weren't that good later on, but I thought they were at that time.
So I know just from knowing you right now, and if there's more to this, I know that you have a hard money lender that you'll pretty much purchase anything with. It seems to be the sky's the limit with that. And then you will refi with banks if necessary. You have relationships, and you've had them in the past with banks. Is there any other? Is that basically it? And do you look for anything? It doesn't matter what size. Doesn't matter how much. Does any of that bother you?
No, I'm an opportunist. So like if there's a deal that is out there that is beyond my current capability, I actually really like thinking about the possibilities of what that could be and stretch. And so that's pretty much what the majority of what I do is try to push myself to uncomfortable places almost always. And if I'm not doing that, I feel like I'm stagnant and I'm not really doing anything. So pretty much I battle stress and anxiety on a regular basis, but thank goodness I know the source of how to combat that.
Yeah, there's a pill for that too.
Yeah. I won't go to the pill, but some people do, and I understand why.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Real quickly, we would all say, the saying that you want to know my net worth, look at my network. The Bible version of that is who you hang with is who you become. And so if you want to be leveling up in life, then start hanging with people that are above you and smarter than you and better than you at what it is you want to do. Briefly, I wanted you to talk about Toss It and your thoughts on that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, so I was fortunate enough to have been like thrown into my nephew and my niece's life. Is Brianna here? There she is. That's my wonderful niece, Brianna, and her mom next to her, Amanda. Perry, which is Brianna's husband, has been in the dumpster business working for his family for some time. And they, going back, they were getting married and they had asked me to marry them, officiate their wedding. And I initially said no, because I was like that, I don't do that. And I felt uncomfortable. There it is, uncomfortable. And I said no. And then I thought about it and I was like praying. I was like, God, I probably shouldn't have said no. I feel terrible about it. Well, guess what? Their wedding's getting ready to go off. It's Friday night. And the pastor that's going to do the wedding has an emergency. And Friday night comes and they're like, Tyler, we need you to officiate this wedding. And I said, yeah, all right, God, I've been battling this thing now and this discomfort of doing this thing. And I was like, I'm in, 100%, I'm in. And at that moment I had anxiety and my heart is racing, and people don't think that Candace, she said that I was like, I get anxious for this stuff. I get anxious when I talk, I get anxious when I do a TV commercial, whatever it is, I get nervous, man. My heart rate's up, but I also get fired up too by it at the same time. So I'm freaking out. And I'm like, God, you're gonna have to help me get through this, because I do not want to look like a fool and I want to do a good job for them. And anything that I do, I want to go all in. And so I was like, all right, I'm in this. I need time alone. I can't spend any more time with anybody here. I just need to be alone, and that's what I need to do. I'm like a psychopath about being prepared for stuff. So anybody messes with my routine, I'm not happy. I need to pray. I need to be reading my Bible, and just talking, writing it out, planning it all out, and then it all goes out the window the second I get up there. It's like, why did I even do it? But it went off with a hitch, and and I tell you that story because I was totally invested in their lives. When that happened, when I was asked to do that, I'm committed to their marriage, their life, and their success. And so I saw some needs, and that need was, you know, with work and business, working for your family, sometimes it can be challenging, and Perry was having some challenges there, and he needed some growth, so I just encouraged him. I said, why don't you go start your own business, man? Just do it. I'll support you. We can do this. Make sure you talk to your parents. Let's do it the right way. He did that. I don't think it was received the right way. Hopefully one day we'll actually get to talk, and maybe they'll watch this. I'm sorry, I actually love you guys, and we don't want any problems. So if they're watching it, that's for you guys. I've been calling them to try to resolve the issue. They actually got really upset with this. When we started this business, they felt betrayed and everything else. But we started this business, and they didn't think it was me. They thought it was somebody else that was starting it, and it's unfortunate that they thought this, and like they're really upset and hurt and bitter by this. But we started it, we launched Toss It all in, and we've acquired, I think, over 40 dumpsters, maybe 50 dumpsters. We got 2 trucks. Perry's grinding. We got growing problems and challenges, but it's like we welcome those adversities and challenges, and it's I believe that within 3 years we'll get it to a place. The goal is to get it to a place and sell it, and then teach him how to invest in real estate, and then be a blessing to their son. They have a new baby, which I love him so much already. And you know, when he comes over the house, I hold him for about 5 minutes, then my back hurts, and I got to give him a. There he is. There he is, Grayson, my guy. What a blessing. Sorry, that was long, but I felt just led to share that story.
Yeah, cool. So we got Toss It, and you're working on some other things. I'm always thinking about other things. So let's like meander into the past a little bit. I know many of you probably don't know that Tyler's from Pennsylvania, from Bucks County, Pennsylvania. So I always tease him about that and say, you're not even from Baltimore, man. But yeah, so we're, you know, Baltimore's privileged to have him. If you want to talk, we talked briefly about this the other day, and your thoughts, just the one thing you want to share about your past for today, because there's a great story of Tyler's past. But
yeah, do you want me to like give a little snip? I feel like I want to talk a little bit about it.
Go ahead.
So
hey, I just want to say we're probably going to go longer today, so just kind of giving everybody a heads up. We understand if 2 o'clock's your cutoff or sooner, but if you're enjoying the conversation, we're gonna sit and go through that.
If you walk out and leave, I won't be offended. My feelings might be hurt a little bit, but I understand because I can't listen for much more than 30 minutes, to be honest. So I get it.
But you can talk longer.
I can talk longer because I get this opportunity. I'm like up here like spilling the beans on everything. So yeah, my past, I grew up in Bucks County, as Shane mentioned, a small town, Sellersville. Actually, I bounced around a lot. So up until my 5th birthday, I lived in a stable home that was in Telford, Pennsylvania. My father, well, I thought he was my real father, but he actually was not.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
we'll
get
later,
to that.
Yeah.
So I lived there till 5. Parents divorced. I don't understand it. I'm getting ripped from the house, going from house to house to house, and moving pretty much every year. So when I spoke about like the ability to adapt, I moved every single year until I was, I think, so 5 years. Five years in a row I moved. And I would start in the school, I'd be that new kid they introduce, and then everybody's coming around weird introducing themselves, and I like just don't know what to do. But then I leave that school and start over and do it again. And so I have to just like figure out how to like fit in and adapt in these different scenarios, which is a blessing, and also created some challenges for some time. But thank goodness those things have been worked out. But so that's the first like 10 years. We moved to Florida. I was in Florida, and I found baseball in Florida. I don't even think I really talked to you much about this. And in Florida, it was also because we could play year round. And I played, it was probably 9, 10, 11 when I was there. And I learned how to pitch, and I was like a really good pitcher for a 9, 10, 11-year-old. And I started learning how to throw curveballs, and we didn't know how bad that was for your arm, but I was breaking them off left and right. And then my arms was jacked up. But anyways, I moved back to Pennsylvania. My mom, she moved us back to Pennsylvania. When I got back to Pennsylvania, I had a couple of really pivotal things that happened that created in me some things. We were broke. We had no money. My mom had us living in a camper outside of my uncle's house. And that camper was probably like a 1970s version camper that had a weird smell to it. I had a dog that was way too big to be living in a camper with my mom, myself, and my sister. And there was one day, and I was 11 years old, there was one day that stood out to me. It was like leaking, smelling, and I was disgusted. And I'm wearing sloppy clothes that I don't like, and I have a little bit of fat on me. I'm a chubby little kid, and I did not like this. And I was like looking at my situation, and I thought to myself, I'm like, I am not gonna live like this. I am not doing this, and I am gonna do what I can to change this situation. And so I put myself on the most regimented. There was one thing I knew that I could actually do and change, and that was like my physical characteristics. And so I heard about Herschel Walker doing like 1,000 push-ups and sit-ups a day, and that inspired me, and I did 1,000 push-ups a day. I got it in, and I went from being this chubby kid to like a skinny, lean kid. And so I changed the one thing I thought I could do, and that I could, and I did that. And what it did is it created a discipline in me that I didn't know at that time what it was doing, but it created a discipline and a work in me that helped propel me forward. So physical stuff became my God. Like I was focused on how I looked and how I felt, and that was my God. I was everything in on that. Then I go into the next part of my life, which would be like middle school to high school, and I went all in powerlifting and football, and I went like all in on that. I was dedicated to it. I'd be in the gym Friday night when my friends were doing other stuff, and I got strong. Like I was lifting, 5-6 days a week. I didn't know you should take days off, but I was just going hard, and that became my God again. And football and aggression. So I was like training myself to be aggressive and not be weak. And I was like, when I played football, I was like, I'm gonna like hurt people. Like my mission was to like slam my head as hard as I can into the next person, and I would try to run you over. When we would do hitting drills, there would be like open field tackling. I would run straight at you. You knew that was coming. And like nobody really wanted to do it because I had some kind of weird sense with my head that I never felt any hard hits. Like I just could run through things. And I like viewed that as a strength. I was not good, but I was like kind of psychotic. And but then I started thinking like, man, this is how you handle life. Like you just crush it. Like I have a hammer, I'm gonna bring it. and that led me to like thinking like that's what a man was. Like I should go hard, I should fight, I'm gonna be strong. Which then a little later, a couple things happened, but I end up in the Marine Corps. Kind of go figure. Those things go together. In the Marines, it's about killing. And we're trained to kill and not have any thought otherwise and take the order and go forward and do it. And you don't make excuses. And so in me is another thing that I'm being trained to be aggressive in, and I'm going out there and I'm going to be a good Marine. And uncomfortable put in front of Marines when you don't know what you're doing and you have to lead Marines and really don't know. What I learned in the Marines was like, most people don't know what they're doing, but you have to show it and act like you do. Jump out there and you're gonna lead. And if they sense that you do not know what you think, or they think that you are not understanding something, they will jump all over it and then you'll get slaughtered. So you figure out how to mask yourself and how to be a leader that is confident, even if you're not. And so those things were like part of the training. And but that, again, aggression, and I'm gonna be the hardest guy, that was my God. And then after that, I get in, like I read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Has anybody heard that book? It changed my perspective on business, money, how you earn it, and all that. Like I was taught that you should go to college, get a good education, and then get a degree and go get a job, work for somebody. And when I read that book, I skipped all my classes because I was going to college. I skipped all the classes, and I read that book, and it changed it. I was like, it ruined me. And the truth is, I actually never finished college. And I tell you that was a hard thing for me to tell my wife that. I held on to that for a long time. People just assumed I did. And I think the university actually thinks I did graduate. They still send me alumni stuff, and they want money and they want everything else. I'm like, I didn't even graduate from there. I had one semester left. I did not finish, but I had a hard time telling my wife that because she assumed that I did. Her and her dad and everybody.
You mean you married her without a degree?
I married her without a degree.
What a queen you got there.
But I told her the one day, and I was like, I got conviction. It was like not that long ago. So she didn't know this until like, who knows? So we've been married 11 years, and I told her, I was like, I got something I gotta tell you, babe.
We've been doing deals together, and you're telling me now? You're telling Corey now? Now we found out?
She was like, oh my gosh, what did you do? Like, like it's something bad. And I'm like, I feel like it's really bad. And I tell her, and she's like, who cares? She's like cracking up, laughing, like, that bothers you? I was like, yeah, it really bothers me. So I didn't complete it, and that's what bothers me. I didn't complete something. But anyways, I'm there, and I'm reading this book, and it changed my mind. I went all in on business, and in business, that became my God. I was going all in because I'm going to get rich, I'm going to have power, and I want respect because I haven't gotten that because I was poor, didn't have much. And so I'm going to go all in business, and that became my God. But all the while, these things that are happening, I'm getting all this training, but I'm using it all in the wrong way in my mind. And what I did is I didn't care about like how I impacted people around me. I was like caring about myself and where I was going, and I was not acting like a good husband when we did get married and a good father because I was into the business thing, and then I was humbled, and everything started tumbling down on me, and I thought I had this Maserati. I was driving a Maserati. I was like, had my hair slicked back. I was wearing custom suits. Matt Pecker, Andrew Lair, you guys know that time. I was just watching an interview I did with Andrew Undum actually, and I was like, that was that time where I was like in that weird space where I thought I was something I wasn't, and I watched the interview and I'm like pretty arrogant, cocky, and like, you know what I mean? Like just about myself. But I got humbled and I saw it coming. And when it came, like business started changing and I had all these employees and all this overhead, and then things started to kind of feel like they were getting ready to implode. I knew it was coming because I saw like, we're not making money. This is not happening. This isn't working right. And everybody's getting paid, but like the company's just bleeding out and we're just pumping money into it. I need to make a change, and I know this change is going to be difficult. People were talking like, Charm City's bankrupt, they're going out of business. Those guys, he's not doing well. You hear the rumor mill, and that just adds fuel to me. Like that's the best thing that could ever happen is if someone tells me I'm going down. You know, I've been down. Like you tell me like, oh, he's going down. Like bring it. Like let's go. Andrew Lair, I know you know it. So yeah, Andrew and I'd see him riding around in the streets. Side by side, we're out there trying to get business come up to poor guys, trying to make something of themselves. So I respect him. But I was going hard in the business, but neglecting the thing that was most important. And that was my relationship. And when I had to get humbled and everything came tumbling down and I was about to lose it all, and I was probably going to lose my family because of how neglectful I was to them. And because everything was put into this business of mine. But what happened was I said a prayer at a breakfast by myself. And this prayer that I said was so simple. And it was because there was a scripture on the wall, and I was like in a bad spot. Everything was like I said, accounts were going negative. And they were not, people wouldn't know it. But because I had these things that looked glamorous, and I had the slick back hair with the custom suits, but that they didn't see the bank account. But I was fighting for my life and then fighting for my family and everything else, and I had to shift. I said a prayer this day, and I just thanked God for all his blessings, and I thanked him for what he's done in my life and things that I had that were good. It just changed. And when I said that prayer, all the weight that I was carrying just lifted off of me. Like it was just, I've been waiting for you, is what God told me. I've been waiting for you to have this conversation with me. All I want is a relationship. And in that moment, everything changed. Like, I didn't know that it changed, but I can look back and tell you it did. And when I started putting him first, Shane pops up 3 days later saying, I feel led to spend time with you. I felt prompted. I was praying and I felt like God placed it on my heart that I should meet with you. He meets with me. Then he starts encouraging me, teaching me what it looks like to be a good husband, what it looks like to be a godly man, what it looks like to be a man that loves his children and puts them, above all these things. And then the business stuff started becoming so much less. Like, I stopped thinking about business. I stopped thinking about priorities in that. I mapped out a game plan of how to be the best husband, have the best relationship with God, and I laid it out in a journal. I wrote it out strategically for 1 year to the day what I was supposed to do in that day, and I followed it. And I had to restore everything with my wife, with my kids, and they might not know it, but I was working at that, and God has transformed my life. And business took off when I was not trying. The market is good, but even before that, things started to change for me. And I can tell you, I wasn't seeking that. I was seeking Him. And that's why this thing that we come here and we share the gospel and we're talking about it, I am a fanatic and I am passionate about this. My wife and I, we have disagreements, but we move past them. And I've learned how to be a good husband, and I've learned how to be a good father, and I've learned it from multiple men, and I've taken, and then Corey pops up, Mike, Heb over there, these guys, Cliff and Grant, and they're examples. Victor, he's doing a good job coming up, young guy. And, I'm learning all these men that he's starting to bring into my life to help support me in this. And we need a community. So that's why we're creating this as a community, and that you could hear it. And it's not about just business. In fact, it should be the least about business. It should be the most about these relationships. And that's what this is to me. Cool. That's a rant. And I needed to get that out.
Because I've spent a lot of time with Tyler, there is extreme layers within what he's talking about. Maybe you guys, and we talk about it all the time, you want to know more about his story and his past and everything, take him out to coffee, breakfast, or whatever. He enjoys a good greasy spoon. So he'll be happy to share that with you. He's a very, very transparent person, probably one of the most transparent people I know in business and in life, and he's more than happy to help you in those areas. I think about that story and vision you in the trailer, and just see that resentment against poverty was bothering you. It was created in you. And then God creates this extreme discipline. When I first met him, he won't even talk about this stuff. He was doing the Oregon Trail up the hill like 5 o'clock in the morning by himself and jumping in. I mean, he wanted to do marathons and all these things. But this book here, his ability to basically write down his goals, write down the vision, and accomplish the vision is super, super powerful. And if you want any encouragement in that area, I'm sure he'll be happy to help you with that as well. So out of all this, we're talking about the future. Just really, where do you see, out of everything here, Banks Enterprises was created. And I know you have a lot of thoughts and ideas and plans of where you want to go with that. So if you want to share with us.
Anyways, Banks Enterprise is created to encompass the companies that I aspire to grow. And in those, there's multiple different things that I'm doing. The thing that I'm working on right now, and I told the kids I would talk about this, and I'm hoping somebody, some way, and you have to talk about things. I think one of the first meetups, it was talk to people, and that was Corey and Ash, TTP, talk to people. I agree with that, and I do that. So we are creating, our family is creating the Banks Bros Baseball. And Banks Bros is for Hudson and Jackson, and that company is being launched to promote and build a community for young men and maybe older people too, but traveling through their journey and what they're doing, training for baseball, and who knows where it ends up going. But I want people to see that, and I want to teach them kind of how we do things as as Banks men. And so that is a thing that I'm working on. That's where the future we're going to do. They're going to be selling merch, and hopefully they're a little bit shy on the YouTube, but we're working on that. We're gonna have a little YouTube channel where we promote what they're doing. Adam's putting together some videos, and Further Insights has been helping me build out the website, the social handles, and all that stuff. So that's something that we're working on. Also, working on a couple commercial projects that I'm maybe end up growing into multiple projects. One is the residential treatment facilities, like Brett, the one guy that spoke. You guys remember him? We bought Corey Osh and I had bought a building in Baltimore. It's like 33 rooms, 15,000 square feet, and they're going to operate their business out of that. So we're going to maybe look to acquire more buildings like that, more industrial properties. What else do I have going on? This event. I want to continue growing this event, and the people that kind of are getting involved in it, and maybe it grows. I don't know, but I could see this growing to a bigger thing across the country. Is where my mind goes, and wherever we can use a platform to share God. And this platform is intentional that we're using it this way, and I don't want to mince any words. So if you're here and you've heard that from day one, and that's what we're about, and we're staying on that mission.